Good morning and welcome to this episode of Beyond the Photo with me, Damien Jackson. In this video I'm still on Valentia Island and I'm on top of Geokaune Mountain looking down on Beginnish Island below. It's 5:30 a.m. in the morning and I'm just waiting for some colour to come into the sky. So thank you for joining me along the journey and let's get going. Geokaune Mountain is the tallest mountain on Valentia Island with a height of 266 metres or 873 feet in old money. It overlooks the sea on all sides with a particularly stunning view over the Lighthouse, Beginnish Island and the Dingle Peninsula on the northeastern side. It also has a gravel roadway built to the top with a number of different car parks with observation points along the way, with beautiful views of Bray Head and the Skellig Islands, and the 180 metre or 600 feet Foher Cliffs. Each area has seating and picnic tables, so you can bring the lunch with you. You can also hike to the top if that's your preferred method of travel. So my first composition is a panorama. I'm looking down on Valentia Lighthouse and Beginnish Island and the peninsula on the far side, and I'm getting that stretch of water coming in between there. I'm using the lighthouse in the foreground, Beginnish Island in the middle, and then the peninsula on the far side. As you can see, there's some beautiful clouds in the sky at the moment. They haven't actually caught colour yet. I see some of them behind me are starting to catch the light all right, but I'm hoping that these will turn a nice orangey pink. I've turned the camera into vertical mode and I'm going to sweep across from left to right, leaving about a 30% overlap. One tip when taking panoramas is you need to make sure that the camera is absolutely level. Otherwise, as you sweep through the panorama, that tilt is going to get worse, and what will happen is that it won't stitch properly then in Lightroom. So here it is, a 7-image vertical panorama stitched together in Lightroom. I'm happy enough with it, but there are a lot of black shadows, and that's due to the backlighting. The sun is rising straight behind the mountains, causing those dark shadows on the near side. I think at another time of the year I might get some side lighting here, and that would provide more detail within the image instead of the black areas. I don't think a sunset shot would have worked here either at this time of the year, because the sun would go down behind the Geokaune Mountain that I'm actually standing on, and the lighthouse and Beginnish Island would still be in shadow, especially when the golden hour was there. I'd probably have to come, a couple of hours before sunset. But look, I'm happy enough with it. So I've just moved over to the other side of the mountain now, and I'm shooting down on Port Magee and the bridge that's coming across. You can see that the mountains in the background are all lit up, and then just out to sea you have the two Skellig Islands as well. So again, I'm going to zoom in a little bit and see if I can get a panorama from there. You know what, that's so far away. I'm going to put on the 70-200 because I'm just not getting enough reach with 24 to 70. So I'll change that up a bit now. So here it is, a 6-shot pano. Look, it's not a great shot. Sometimes these places look a lot better than when you're there than when you actually take a photograph. And we've discussed many times that a great view is not obviously a great photograph, but there are some nice colours in it, and I particularly like the way the Skellig Islands balance the cliff top on the far side there. So some nice colours, but certainly not a banger. So at this stage it's 6:30 a.m. and the sun is well and truly up. So I've actually moved over to the other side of the island altogether. I'm back where I was last night at quite close to the car park at Bray Head. I'm looking out on these little group of islands here and then the Skelligs in the background. So I'm going to try and take a panel taking in some of the mountains here, the cliffs in the foreground, and all the way going out to the Skelligs. I have to say that when I was out on the ground, I had no idea that I was taking so many panos. It's almost like a pano video rather than just a general vlog about Valentia Island, etc. But I suppose the area just suits it. Now, again, this shot is no banger, but I do like, again, the colours in the sky. I like the colours on the landscape, and again, the two little dots of the Skelligs in the distance. So following that last shot, I decided to drive down off the mountain towards the lighthouse at Cromwell Point. The site of the Cromwell Point Lighthouse was originally home to a 17th century Cromwellian fort, built in 1653 to guard the entrance to Valentia harbour against invaders. It was named Fleetwood Fort, and the defences included 8 cannons and 40 soldiers. It was stood down as a fort in 1669, but it wasn't until 1828, almost 160 years later, that a lighthouse was applied for by the Right Honorary Knight of Kerry, Maurice Fitzgerald. Work began on the lighthouse 10 years later in 1838, and the first light shone from the 15-metre high lighthouse on the 1st of February 1841. For the following 107 years, the lighthouse was staffed by a lighthouse keeper housed on the site with their families until in 1947 the lighthouse became automated and a part-time attendant was appointed to maintain it. In 2013, the lighthouse opened to the public for tours and can be booked through valentialighthouse.ie. I'm just at the back of the lighthouse now, and as you can see there's some lovely sea pinks, or thrift as they're called in Waterford, just growing along the rocks here, and I'd like to use those in the foreground and then put on a 6 or a 10 stop filter and smooth the water. It's certainly not a banger, but it's a nice shot to have of the trip. Again, it's still only 7:30 a.m. in the morning, but as you can see the light is getting a bit harsh already. But look, when you get a few days away on a trip, it's hard just to stop shooting just because the light is harsh. You just take the best you can and go for it, I think. Don't let the harsh light on this occasion put you off from coming here. In 2015, I got a wonderful sunset right from this very spot. And then I rushed back to the front of the lighthouse like a man possessed, praying that the light wouldn't fade as I sought out a different composition. This is possibly the most magical sky I've ever had the pleasure of photographing. At that stage it was time to take a quick rest and catch up with a bit of breakfast. Now during breakfast the sky changed completely and the clouds moved in, which I suppose was good news. So brekkie done, time to get back to work. So while I was having coffee I just noticed this stone and these sea pinks, or the thrift, just in front of me here. And I'm going to use that as a foreground, with the lighthouse and the mountains then. The lighthouse, I suppose, in the midground, and eventually the mountains in the background. Okay, so same technique as the last time. Fast shutter speed to keep the flowers in the front and in the foreground sharp, and then slow it all down to blur the water. Bringing this wide angle lens so close to the rock and to the flowers has given it a kind of a cone shape where it's gone up in front and you can see the lighthouse and the mountains behind it. But the wide angle lens also accentuates things at the very wide. It distorts them, I suppose, at the widest angle. And that can have a nice effect on the clouds as well. It gives them a sweeping look without ever having to use an ND filter. So let's have a go, see what happens. Okay, put on the ND. Bring it down to what, 15 seconds? Here it is, a blend of two exposures. A short one at 100 of a second to keep the flowers in the foreground sharp, and a longer exposure of 20 seconds to calm the sea and also to try and get some movement in the clouds. It's amazing to see how quickly the clouds came in. I just stopped for some breakfast and 45 minutes later the clear blue skies had gone, and it made for a far more dramatic shot than earlier in the morning. I like this one. I think it's one of my favourites from the trip. Just before I left Valentia, I decided I'd head up to the old quarry where the grotto is. Now, just before you enter the area for the quarry, there's an old gate lodge, and beside it there's a little car park. So I pulled in there, and you can look right down on the lighthouse and out onto Beginnish. At that stage it had started to rain quite heavily, and there was these massive heavy clouds in the sky. So I decided I'd go for one last shot. Now, truth be told, this was actually a panorama at the beginning, a 6-image panorama, but it was just looked a little bit too elongated and letterbox type. So I took this section from the middle of it, and I think this works a lot better than the original. In the crop I tried to use the line of the coastline as a lead-in line, and I also had to make sure that the full Beginnish Island was included as well. So that's it from me from Valentia Island. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please leave a like or a comment below. The likes help YouTube to spread around the video a little bit more, and I'd appreciate any help in that department. So once again, thank you for watching, and until next time, stay safe and bye for now.